the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
It's Tim Albright with AVNation, with the AVNation special, chatting with my good friend, Mr. Nick Milani from Epiphan. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I am doing well. You are looking fantastic. We got to hang out a couple times this year, once at NAB. One of the things that we talked about in Vegas was supply chain, right? And there are some systems getting designed and almost put in because of gear shortages and just the chips issue. What would you say to a customer, either a dealer or an AV user, who is holding off on completing installs or holding off on commissioning a system because they're missing, one or two pieces, but you guys, Epiphan, can certainly get them gear? What would you say to them?
Well, first off, I want to acknowledge where we're at, right? It's a mess. And our take is that it's a root chip. The root of the whole thing is the chip supply challenges, right? Whether it's PCs to power video systems or processors to power room automation. The dealers, in my observation, are being starved of product, which impacts their ability to purchase complementary products like ours. And so there's this behavior right now throughout the supply chain that we have to be very careful of, because we're locking up everyone's revenue around a key component, these processors. And I think that it's require us to do something a little bit different. And I think dealers, what I'd encourage them all to do is reevaluate how they commission their products and reevaluate the partners they rely on. And, these closed ecosystems are biting us, and the proverbial, what. And, the beauty of an Epiphan product, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, is that we are a standalone appliance. So you can go out and commission our product today. It can be up and running by itself, creating those streams for a university or for an enterprise. But you can also integrate it with Crestron, Extron, QSC, Kaltura, Panopto, Uja, you name it. And so we've got this really unique offering in the AV space. And it's something a lot of the folks don't realize what we do, is that we give you this tool that is a gateway to a bunch of additional revenue and services, and is complementary to a lot of those devices that you're waiting on. And so I think the nuance here is that the customers understand what's going on in the supply chain. We have to try to unlock partial revenues as we can commission specific aspects and get that into their site so that we start to free up that cash back through the supply chain and keep everybody moving forward.
All right, you just said a very important phrase there, especially for dealers who are holding on to inventory, trying to wait out the next shipment of X, Y, and Z. That is additional revenue and services. Talk for a second about what exactly you're talking about there, because dealers may not understand that Epiphan can partner with them and get them, revenue that they may not even realize right now.
So it's something we consistently saw. And, with my background and coming from the industry, I understand those ecosystems. I understand the major players and how it works, and the benefit of a fully commissioned system managed under one umbrella. The uniqueness that we educated a lot of folks on that Epiphan brings to the table is our individual devices are standalone. They're managed through the cloud, they can be commissioned, and they're intuitive. No programming, no skill set required to set up and actually start to use. So you can go tomorrow to a local university, to a local enterprise, to a local church, to a local funeral home, to all these places that are looking at how strategic video can help their organization, impact the way students learn or impact the way their customers. And you can literally put that device along with PTZ cameras, SLR cameras, lighting, microphones, all the other accoutrements. So what happens that's really fascinating is our $3,000 device turns into $30,000 worth of gear for the dealer. And if the customer goes, well, I want this fully automated tied back into my existing room control system, you go, no problem. And 40 weeks when those are available, we'll come back and we'll add that level of control in. But for today, the touchscreen on this device and that button that says record or that button that says stream, those functions will get you an outbound product. Now, the service aspect comes into it in that sometimes building that outbound product is where they don't have resources internally to do it. And so going into our tool set and helping them do branding, helping them build layouts, helping them determine stream locations, scheduling that, and then even providing remote production capabilities so that, you could have a dealer producer sitting at their office and facilitating a 3-camera shoot for a client anywhere in the world via our cloud tools. And again, when all the other products in the supply chain start to become available, great, fill them in around it. We'll play nice with them. And there's a nuance to that just being a little bit more newer to the pro AV space. I saw a lot of people that didn't realize that there are certain companies that have those kind of chops like us. And there's a handful of us out there,
You mentioned higher education and streaming and getting video to students. Epiphan does more than just the streaming part. So how does talking about talking with higher ed, how does that help? How does Epiphan help colleges and universities support not just remote but also the hybrid learning model?
Yeah, so I think it starts with better engagement, better experiences for the professors and the students. Okay, so let's start with the obvious side, which is the faculty. When we think about hybrid learning, we think about the richness of experience. Now, I happen to have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I can tell you that like watching the notes that are being written on the board and being able to see the details and be able to see the artifacts and the professor and feel that intimacy, when you have a multi-camera shoot with document cameras and be able to see the whiteboard and project that all up, that creates a deeper experience for the people that are remote. The nuance also is that it creates a better experience for the people that are in person. I don't know if you had the joy of taking any courses in 250-person lecture halls, but it can be quite difficult for people to hear or see at the back. That's where our system also locally will present in for the local participants. So true hybrid, both the local folks get enhancement as well as the remote participants. And we think that's really important. So that's faculty engaging with students. The other side of this is that students, an 18-year-old today has a different relationship with video than than students have for decades, right? They're native video users, and they just survived the last 2 years of their high school education on video primarily. So one of the things that I really encourage as we talk to some of the higher ed customers is how do we think about this as a strategic asset for students as well? And what that looks like is one really popular example is one-touch video studios. Why do we require a student to sit on their laptop in their dorm room to do their end of semester presentation? Why don't we give them a room that they can go into, one touch join, 4K, great audio, great light, look good, feel good, be good. And now that changes the way the students start to think about their video as a strategic asset back to the professors and the faculty and the teachers. And I think what we're seeing there is a lot of interest, a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, people going, yes, yes, yes. And what we're going to watch that do is start to push into the enterprise and push into the corporate world as those students continue to move forward. Because it's, it's like when we learned how to take keyboard classes, like their video skills are going to be, synonymous with their skills.
Yeah, I'm old enough to have taken typing, not keyboarding. But
by the way, Tim, one of the things I joke around about that little thing right there is we've got 18-year-olds that are native users of video going into higher education. And we've got a lot of folks like ourselves that are middle-aged people that took typing skills. And this is the beauty of higher ed, by the way. This is exactly why higher education institutes, exist, is to progress the learning, progress the knowledge of these different areas. And I think video is one of the biggest ones to go into.
One of the things I want to hit on here, and when I say government, 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about the at least in the States here, like federal government, right?
Right.
But one of the things that you and I were talking about is not just, and yes, federal government can leverage video as well, but talk for a second about how smaller government, local and regional governments can leverage video to kind of better connect with their constituents at a local level.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is, there's a mandate to share publicly content, right? And what we're seeing with a lot of like local cities and governments is that they use our Epiphan Pearl, kind of all in one system. They can set up a schedule, it kicks on the cameras, it streams out to multiple locations, they can broadcast that through their social channels, and they're able to achieve compliance with it in a really efficient way and create that engagement. We also see with a lot of local courthouses and a lot of that side of local government where they're using it to capture and record isolated views, ISO views of different cameras, so they have a record of the conversations that occurred in the courthouse. And again, if they want to, they can choose to stream that out to a single location, multiple locations, or even to an internal server. And so that power of both archiving and communicating simultaneously through a single box that's just one touch to start. That's something that really empowers them to do these things. And one of the value propositions that I think we all have to offer in this space is that it's a one-touch type experience. There's not a deep expertise required, which is oftentimes a hurdle for a lot of these folks doing it. But it is a superior experience to a video conferencing tool. If I set a laptop up at the end of the council hall and try to do an event there, it's not going to work out as well. So I think we provide that kind of richness of experience at a very kind of a approachable way.
You've used a phrase a couple times, and I want to pause for a second and kind of get your definition of it. You use the phrase strategic video. I think I know what you mean, but just define that for me.
Okay, here's one of the things I was vetting with a lot of customers I spoke to through the last few months in events. I believe, Tim, that we are on day 0 of video. I know that we've spent our careers in it. I know that you've spent a lot of time working on video. I think that we are at day 0. And I think what we're realizing is prior to COVID, by the way, what was adoption rate of video conferencing within an organization? 15 to 25% of people would turn their camera on when they were in it, right? Now what we're seeing is just obviously huge numbers, and everyone's learned to adopt it. But we've learned to survive on the tool. We haven't learned to thrive. And that's where I start to shift the idea of using video as a survival tool to communicate and get my nonverbals tied to yours, and we're looking at each other and having a great conversation, as opposed to thinking of it as a strategic tool, which is how do I take my outbound video and curate the experience that people see? You see, if we get into a room where we pitch a big customer and I'm standing on stage, you know me, I'm a little bit of a showman, right? I'll be up there at the front of the room. The goal of my
yes.
the goal of my presentation is to keep people focused on what I want them to see in the journey I'm taking them on, right?
Yep.
When we move to video, we all of a sudden array a bunch of boxes the exact same way. And you can't choose what the person's seeing. So you can't curate that experience. And that curated experience is fundamentally what I believe moves from a survival to using it as a strategic thriving tool. It's, are you curating and making sure that the customer is really seeing what you want? The student really gets the thing you need out of it. And when we get to that point, I think we're going to start to really feel, we're going to see this big step function in what we're doing.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Did it align with what you thought it was, by the way?
Yeah, basically, because you're talking about, I don't know if I'm with you on day 0, because I don't know, it's roughly 100 some odd years or more, but I can almost get there with you. You talked a little bit about working within and with other folks and other manufacturers and other companies. How do you guys interact with, and how do you use and leverage other systems for Epiphan?
Well, it's one of the things I was most excited about coming over here for. I love the open ecosystem that Epiphan's created, and the idea here is really simple. We have a device that provides a function in and of itself, okay, and that device supports CDNs and distribution through YouTube and Facebook. And by the way, nuance in there, right? You can set your encoding and your bit rates and everything to match theirs. And so you could be sending out your content to these different distribution networks. We support CMSs like Kaltura, Panopta, Yuja, where you can inject your content into their systems for distribution. We support the control system ecosystem. So we work with Crestron, Extron, and soon to be QSC. So you can integrate into those higher functionality around that as well. And we also keep up to date on the latest and greatest streaming technology. So whether that's SRTs, secure, reliable transport, which is a lower latency, super high quality protocol, or the ability to keep up with the latest encoding like H.265 and HEVC so that we can get more content over the small pipes we have to get out there. We try to stay very much in our lane, which is at that center of acquisition of the signal, enhancing the signal with branding and layouts and switching, and then allowing people to stream and record those assets so they can use it both live and on demand for future. That's kind of the position we sit in, and that's the area we like to live in.
Nick, before I let you get out of here, simple question here, but a one that needs to be asked. You guys have competitors, right? Why should somebody choose Epiphan? Why should somebody go with Epiphan for their strategic video? solutions?
Well, first off, we see the world through strategic eyes. That's important. We have human beings behind the business that you can call up and talk to. I'd encourage people, by the way, to go check out our YouTube channel. If you want to see a company that's been living strategic video for decades, you'll see it there. And you go back through the archive, and there's just incredible content in there. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, like why? Well, we're all in one. We work with everyone. We're standalone but cloud connected. And it's an opportunity for the dealers in the Pro AV marketplace to build services and to ultimately start to attach additional hardware and opportunities onto it. So, I think that at the end of the day, we give a lot of flexibility for customers and for organizations to grow and evolve in a very flexible architecture. And again, award-winning live support to back it up. So when you have questions, you're not sure how to connect to this, we've got great people there to help support you.
All right, very good. Nick Milani from Epiphan. How do people connect with you, sir?
Epiphan.com. That's EPIPHAN.com. And always looking forward to seeing those folks out there. Please reach out. We're here to help.
You should, absolutely. And he can give you more dissertation on strategic video, and maybe he'll convince you about 0 day. For us, for AVNation, this is Tim Albright. Don't follow me, but go by the website, AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. You'll find more videos like this and a host of others. All that and more at AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv.